move on to the next question. Question 5. So, this question is about a DNA molecule. As we know, DNA molecule is in a subtopic in chapter 5 form 5, which is gen and chromosomes. So, before we have a look at the questions, let's learn some facts about DNA. Facts about DNA. DNA carries the genetic information in the cell and is capable of self-replication and synthesis of RNA. DNA consists of two polynucleotide chains twisted into a double helix structure and joined by hydrogen bonds between the complementary bases adenine and thymine, or cytosine and guanine. You can see the structure at the diagram beside the facts. Okay, so do you know that the sequence of nucleotides determines individual hereditary characteristics? So let's move on to the first question. Question A1. Describe the structure of a DNA molecule. So the answer is DNA consists of two polynucleotide chains twisted into a double helix structure and joined by hydrogen bonds. So, actually, this answer we can gain from the facts that I have given. The next question. Which part of the DNA structure forms the genetic code that is important in determining the enzyme production in a cell? Explain your answer. So, my answer is the sequence of bases in a DNA molecule can determine the order of amino acids in a protein molecule. So, this sequence of bases is very important. Without these bases, the order of amino acids in a protein molecule cannot be determined. Okay, let's go. Oh, question B. It is about hemophilia. Do you know what is a hemophilia? So it is stated there, hemophilia is caused by a recessive allele linked to chromosome X. A hemophiliac person has a problem in blood clotting. Before that, I have additional information about this disease. Let's see. So, do you know that in males, the presence of an allele for hemophilia on the X chromosome will produce the disease? This is because the Y chromosome does not carry an allele for normal blood clotting. But in females, the presence of allele for hemophilia on both X chromosomes produce the disease. Thus, the occurrence of hemophilia among females is very rare. So, for the males out there, beware, because the probability of you suffer hemophilia is higher than females. So guys, let's move on to the first question of question B. Explain why both husband and wife are normal trait and do not suffer hemophilia. Okay, this is because both husband and wife carry dominant allele. Dominant allele shows the normal trait, so they do not suffer hemophilia. So, it is important for us to have a dominant allele, or we may suffer hemophilia. Okay, let's go. So, the second question, in diagram 5.2, complete the allele in gametes in the circles and write the possible genotype of the offsprings in the space provided. Let's see. So this is the diagram. For this diagram, you must make sure you label the correct symbol and correct answer to get full mark. Remember that tips. Okay, next. State the probability the first child of the couple is a hemophiliac son. So the probability is 25%. Okay, so this is the last question. The hemophiliac son plans to get married. Suggest the best wife to be so that all their children do not inherit hemophiliac trait. Explain your answer. In my opinion, the best wife for the hemophiliac son to get married with is a normal woman with a genotype of XHXH, which is the H is with a capital letter. This is because when the hemophiliac son get married with normal woman with a genotype of XHXH, the probability of producing a hemophiliac children is 0%. Besides, the hemophiliac son must avoid to marry a hemophiliac carrier woman or hemophiliac woman. This is because the probability to get hemophiliac children is 50%. Or maybe it is 100%, we don't know. Okay, so it is important for us to marry a normal person. I think that's the end of the question. That's all from me. Thank you for listening.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So now I'm going to present SPP Trial Paper 2018, Paper 2, Question 3, which is about Dynamic Ecosystem in Chapter 8. For the first question, based on the diagram above, name the types of interaction represented by X and Y. So the answer is X is mutualism, Y is commensalism. What is the meaning of mutualism? Mutualism is a relationship between two species of organisms in which both get benefits, while commensalism is one partner benefits while the other, which is host, derives neither benefit or harm. Next, explain the interaction represented by X. X just now is mutualism, right? So the answer is both leguminous plant and rhizobium species gets benefits. The leguminous plant provide nutrients for rhizobium species, while rhizobium species act as the nitrogen-fixing bacteria that convert atmospheric nitrogen into nitrates that are used by the plant to build up protein for growth. So here you have to mention what is the benefits of leguminous plant and rhizobium species to each other. Next question is, explain the benefits for the epiphyte by growing on the tree trunk. The answer is, the epiphyte grow on the tree trunk to provide sufficient sunlight and be able to make its own food through photosynthesis. So here you can get 2 mark and 2 mark. For B, Rafflesia species is hard to locate in the forest. The buds take many months to develop. The flower lasts for just a few days. The flowers are unisexual, and thus proximity of male and female flowers is vital for successful pollination. These factors make successful pollination a rare event. So the question is, explain the effect to the tree host if the Rafflesia species plants are unable to reproduce. So the answer is, when the Rafflesia species plants are unable to reproduce, the host does not get harmed. This is because the nutrients from the host plant does not absorb by the Rafflesia species to reproduce. For C1, diagram 3.3 shows the growth curve of the maize plant growth in plot M and the paddy plant's growth in plot N. The supply of nutrients and water are enough for both types of plant. So you can look at the curve of maize plant is higher than paddy plant. Explain why the height of paddy plant and maize plants are different. The mark provided is 2. So the answer is, the growth rate of maize plant is higher than the growth rate of paddy plant. This is because the rate of photosynthesis of the maize plant is higher and it absorbs more nutrients and minerals. Ching! For the last question is, diagram 3.4 shows maize plants and paddy plants are grown alternatively in a same planting ground with limited space and supply of nutrient and water. Explain the rate of growth of the paddy plants after a few months. The mark is 2. The answer is, the rate of growth of the paddy plant decreases as the paddy plant and maize plants compete to get nutrients and water due to less space and nutrients obtained by the paddy plant for growth. Thus, it will be retarded after a few months.
Number 2A. The question asks to name phase S and phase T. So the answer for phase S is metaphase and for phase T is anaphase. B. The question asks to explain the function of spindle fiber during phase S, that is metaphase. So the answer is the spindle fiber will attach to the centromere of the chromosome and make it arrange at the equatorial plate. C. The statement states that some of spindle fiber disintegrate during early of stage T. 1. The question asks to explain the effect of chromosomal behavior during stage T. So the answer is some of sister chromatid cannot be pulled apart to the opposite pole and some new chromosome will not form at the opposite pole. 2. The question asks to predict the number of chromosomes in one of the nuclei that form during telophase. So my answer is 9. D1. The question asks to describe the cell that form callus as shown in diagram 2.2. So the answer is explant divide by mitosis and forming undifferentiated mass of cell. D2. The question asks about the importance of plant cloning. The answer that can be right is produce large number of similar plant in short time, or produce good quality and strong resistance to disease. D3. The question asks about the effect of gamma ray exposure to the plantlet. The answer is it will cause the DNA become damaged and will form abnormal callus.
Seperti yang anda lihat, soalan nombor 4A ditanya. So jawapan dia P, phototropism, dan Q pula ialah geotropism. Kenapa? Sebab kalau tengok gambar tu, gambar P tu ada cahaya matahari. So ambil, ingat fotosintesis, ingat phototropism. Foto tu cahaya, so phototropism. Untuk Q pula, dia tak ada cahaya matahari, so dia tengok akar. So akar dia menuju ke bawah. So bila akar menuju ke bawah, auto lah pucuk pergi ke atas. So dia geotropism. Sebab dia mengikut graviti akar tu. Kalau pucuk pula melawan graviti. Okay. So nombor 1, B1. Jawapan dia, the shoot bends toward light. Auxin diffuse to elongation zone. More auxin accumulate in the shaded region. Cell in shaded region elongate faster. Maksudnya apa tu, pucuk tu dia bengkok ke arah matahari. Yang auxin ni pula dia akan diffuse ke kawasan teduh. So bila kawasan teduh tu tak ada auxin, so more auxin accumulate in the shaded region. So auxin ni dia akan bengkok dahulu sebelum yang tak ada auxin tu. So nanti dia bengkok. Sebab tu yang bawah tu ikut je dia bengkok. Okay. So nombor 2 lah. Jawapan dia, for the shoot auxin function to stimulate cells elongation, while root in it function to slow cell elongation of cell. Another one is the shoot grow away from gravity and grows toward gravity. Maksudnya kita kena terangkanlah perbezaan kat Q tu, shoot dengan root. So untuk shoot, auxin kat shoot ni dia stimulate cell, tapi kalau kat root tu dia slow down elongation. Lepas tu another one, untuk shoot dia melawan gravity, tapi untuk akar dia ikut gravity. Positif geotropism untuk root dan negatif geotropism untuk shoot. Okay. Untuk 3 pula, jawapan dia, the shoot will grow towards the light and the root will grow into the soil to absorb water. So dia nak kepentingan. So kepentingan untuk Q tu senang lah, shoot pergi ke matahari dan akar akan menuju ke bawah ikut graviti untuk menyerap air. Okay, so nombor 3 tu lah ditanya proses nak hasilkan biji buah tanpa biji. So jawapan dia, the process is called parthenocarpy. First flower is spread with auxins. It is to stimulate mitosis at the ovary of the flower, so to develop the embryo. Then the fruit tissue develop but the seed doesn't due to no fertilization of gametes. Maksudnya, nama proses ni panggil fototerapi. Awal tu bunga tu dispray oleh auxin. So auxin ni function dia untuk stimulate mitosis kat ovari pokok, kat ovari bunga tu, untuk kembangkan lagi embrio. So tisu buah tu akan berkembang, tapi biji benih tak akan berkembang. So sebab apa? Sebab tak ada fertilization of gametes.
Now we start with question 1A. So the question 1, name cell P, Q and R. So all of you must underline the keywords. So the keywords of the question is name the cell, which is P, Q and R. So I have put some diagrams in this slide for as your guide. So we start with cell P. If all of you see the size of the shape of the cell like this, so it is smooth muscle cell. So we move to cell Q. If the cell shape is biconcave, so it is a red blood cell. So R, if the blood has a nucleus, so it is a white blood cell. So we move to question B. Tissue Q and tissue R are different tissue. Explain why. So the keyword is tissue Q, tissue R, different tissue, and why. So we know the tissue Q is the tissue content of the white blood cell, and the tissue R is contain white blood cell. So my point to give the tissue is different. My first point is that the structure of tissue Q and tissue R are different. So why? Because tissue R, which has a contain white blood cell, has nucleus, but tissue Q contain red blood cell doesn't have nucleus. So then my second point is the function of the tissue Q and tissue R are different. And why? Because tissue Q, which has a red blood cell, the function is to carry the oxygen to our body, and tissue R contains red blood cell. The function is to protect our body from the pathogen. Then we move to question C. State the level of cell organization of skin. So the question 1, the level of cell organization of skin. So the skin is the content of various type of the tissue. So the answer is organ. And explain your answer. So my first point is because the skin consists of various type of tissue combined together. And my second point is to perform a specific function. All of you can put the example too, such as the skin also combined with the tissue such as epithelial tissue and connective tissue. So we move to question D. The cells in tissue P are lacking in mitochondria. Explain how the condition will affect the function of the erector muscle. So the keyword is the condition will affect the function of the erector muscle. So my first point is what is tissue P. So my first point is P is just smooth muscle tissue. So why how the mitochondria affect the function of the erector muscle. So my second point is the lacking of mitochondria cannot supply enough energy to the erector muscle. My third point, what is the effect of the erector muscle. So I put the erector muscle are unable to contract and relax. So my last point is so the heat cannot release to the surrounding. So the last question is explain the response of the blood capillaries in the skin during a hot day. So the question 1, how the response of the blood capillaries in the skin during a hot day. So my first point is the blood capillaries will expand. Why they expand? Because in the blood capillary is too as many of heat, so the cell in the body will expand. So what the effect of when the blood capillary is expand? So the capillary, it will cause the blood capillaries become closer to the surface of the skin. So as a result, more heat released to the surrounding. Okay, when the blood capillaries are closer to the skin, so the heat is easily to release to the surrounding. So that is how our body become cooler faster. Thank you.
Sekian, terima kasih.